Hello, everybody. Today there are some 2.2 million people behind bars in America. Millions more are on parole or probation. All told, we spend 80 billion taxpayer dollars each year to keep people locked up. Many are serving unnecessarily long sentences for nonviolent crimes. Almost 60% have mental health problems. Almost 70% were regular drug users. And as a whole, our prison population is disproportionately Black and Latino. Now, plenty of people should be behind bars. But the reason we have so many more people in prison than any other developed country is not because we have more criminals. It's because we have criminal justice policies, including unfair sentencing laws, that need to be reformed. We know that simply locking people up doesn't make communities safer. It doesn't deal with the conditions that led people to criminal activity in the first place, or to return to prison later. After all, there's evidence that a 10% increase in the high school graduation rate leads to a nearly 10% decrease in arrest rates. A 10% wage increase for men without a college degree lowers crime by as much as 20%. And a growing body of research suggests that the longer people stay in jail, the more likely they are to commit another crime once they get out. Here's why this matters. Every year, more than 600,000 people are released from prison. We need to ensure that they're prepared to re-enter society and become productive, contributing members of their families and communities, and maybe even role models. That's why we've been working to make our criminal justice system smarter, fairer, less expensive, and more effective. This week, the Department of Justice will highlight how strong re-entry programs can make communities safer. My administration will announce new actions that will build on the progress we've already made. We'll release more details about how we are taking steps to ensure that applicants with a criminal history have a fair shot to compete for a federal job. We're issuing a new report that details the economic costs of our high rates of incarceration. And we're calling on businesses to commit to hiring returning citizens who have earned a second chance. These are just a few of the steps we're taking, but there's much more to do. Disrupting the pipeline from underfunded schools to overcrowded jails, addressing the disparities in the application of criminal justice, from arrest rates to sentencing to incarceration, investing in alternatives to prison, like drug courts and mental health treatment, helping those who have served their time get the support they need to become productive members of society. Good people from both sides of the aisle and across all sectors are coming together on this issue, from businesses that are changing their hiring practices to law enforcement that's improving community policing. We're seeing change. Now we need a Congress that's willing to send a bipartisan criminal justice reform bill to my desk. This isn't just about what makes economic and practical sense. It's about making sure that we live up to our ideals as a nation. Thanks.
1 out of 4 human beings with their hands on bars, shackled, in the world are locked up here in the land of the free.
Kalief Browder was walking home from a party when he was stopped by police.
Then they said, we're going to take you to the precinct, and most likely we're going to let you go home, and then I never went home.
The 13th Amendment to the Constitution makes it unconstitutional for someone to be held as a slave. There are exceptions, including criminals.
The loophole was immediately exploited. What you got after that was a rapid transition to a mythology of Black criminality.
Some people got the real problem.
Animals, beasts that needed to be controlled.
You better believe it.
I'm only human.
It became virtually impossible for a politician to run and appear soft on crime.
The kinds of kids that are called super predators.
Millions of dollars will be allocated for prison and jail facilities.
3 strikes and you are out.
It was an enormous burden on the Black community, but it also violated a sense of core fairness.
Some people got the real problem.
States were required to keep these prisons filled, even if nobody was committing a crime.
It's so difficult to talk about mass incarceration because it has become heavily monetized.
I'm only human.
The focus is on taking people from prison, putting them in community corrections, parole and probation.
How much progress is it really if now there's a private company making money off the GPS monitor?
We now have more African Americans under criminal supervision than all the slaves back in the 1850s.
I'm only human.
We are the products of the history that our ancestors chose. Products of that set of choices that we have to understand in order to escape from it.
You should go looking somewhere higher. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me.
13th is the jumping off point for a conversation, a wide-ranging conversation that gives you a tour through the history of racism, oppression, and subjugation in this country of black people as it relates to the criminal justice system. 13th is speaking about the 13th Amendment, specifically the criminality clause, which states that slavery is abolished in this country except if we decide that you're a criminal.
And what does that mean from 1865, when the 13th Amendment was passed, to today?
Well, that's what the 13th explores. We take you from 1865 and the abolition of slavery and the enactment of the 13th Amendment all the way to now in this Black Lives Matter movement. And we trace decade by decade, generation by generation, politician by politician, president by president, each decision and how it has led to this moment. And we try to give, some historical context to what is happening now. I think people get in this present moment and they start to forget that we're a part of a legacy. And this legacy is rich, but it's also very violent. And so we try to kind of get into the deep layers in this film.
Mass incarceration makes our country worse off, and we need to do something about it. For nonviolent drug crimes, we need to lower long mandatory minimum sentences or get rid of them entirely. We should not be tolerating overcrowding in prison. We should not be tolerating gang activity in prison. We should not be tolerating rape in prison, and we shouldn't be making jokes about it in our popular culture. That's no joke. These things are unacceptable. Do we really think it makes sense to lock so many people alone in tiny cells for 23 hours a day for months, sometimes for years at a time? That is not going to make us safer. Let's follow the growing number of our states and cities and private companies who've decided to ban the box on job applications so that former prisoners who have done their time and are now trying to get straight with society have a decent shot in a job interview. And if folks have served their time and they've re-entered society, they should be able to vote.